You're slowly falling out of discipline. So now what? Let me paint a quick picture in your head. You and your girlfriend have been going through a rough stretch. She's been dry. You guys haven't been seeing each other. You're not FaceTiming anymore. But she texts you and invites you to come over. So you pull up to her place and she greets you at the door. But you could tell something's off. She doesn't have her big smile on that she normally does. And she's avoiding eye contact. But you brush it off and you don't think anything about it. And then you go into her room. You sit down on her bed, but she sits 5 feet away from you. And you can feel this awkward tension in between you guys. She starts pulling on her phone, going through it, having dry conversation, and you ask her, "Is everything all right?" And she responds with the 4 words that no guy ever wants to hear. "We need to talk." She proceeds to tell you that she thinks it's better if you guys were just friends, and you realize she's breaking up with you. You talk for an hour, 2 hours, and then before you know it, she asks you to leave. As you're heading out, you give her one more hug, and as you wrap your arms around her, 10,000 minutes of memories, laughs, cries, experiences flood your brain. And you know that this is the last time you're ever going to hug this girl. You head out, and for the next 2 days, you just feel lost. You feel helpless. You feel sad, depressed. There's nothing going for you in this world, and you can't even get out of bed. But then those days passed, and maybe a week passed, and then you feel a fire inside of you that you have never felt before. A fire that you are going to prove to this girl that she just made the worst mistake of her life. And this leads you to go on to a crazy tear of discipline. Waking up early every single morning, going to bed early every single night, hitting the gym for multiple hours a day, getting a six-pack, getting a jawline, just pushing yourself to the absolute boundaries. But then slowly as time goes on, you realize that you're starting to get over her and you guys are living separate lives now. So this fire inside you starts to slowly fade away. But you're still trying to cling on to this motivation and discipline that you have. You've been working so hard. You've been getting all these good results. But nothing you seem to do can fire you up as much as that heartbreak. And then boom, you've snapped out of the cycle of discipline and you're heading towards not a good time because you're about to screw everything off. This is just one example of how discipline works and how we can get so focused for a set amount of time. But then after that initial fire flames out, it just feels like we're clinging on to it and nothing can keep us there. And then we go down a road of extremism, of partying a lot, of drinking a lot, of slacking off in the gym, of not doing schoolwork, yada, yada, yada. This is something that I have struggled with a lot in my life. And I actually just struggled with it the past week. I was on spring break for 2 weeks. I was coming off a 3-month period in my life where I was so freaking locked in, dialed, dropped down to 8% body fat, getting up at 5 a.m. every single morning. And then I go on spring break and I just lost all this drive. I started sleeping in later. I was not going to the gym. I truly felt like I had nothing to get me out of bed in the morning. I felt no drive at all. And I was just like wondering why this happens. But then this week, the week I get back to school, I'm right back in it. One of the most disciplined weeks I've had. Ripping 2 workouts a day, getting up early, eating clean. I feel like $1 million. Like have this huge purpose. Here are 3 things that I have done this past week to get me back to being disciplined. And also at the end, I have one thing that's going to make you feel better about yourself. The first thing that I'm doing to snap back into the cycle of discipline is when I'm doing something difficult, like a workout or doing schoolwork or working on my content or my podcast. I'm trying to be fully in the moment and enjoying it. Meaning, a lot of the times in the past, what I would do when I start to fall out of the cycle of being very disciplined is I would still do those things. I'd go to boxing, I'd wake up early, but all I would put my focus on is the end result. All I would focus on is how good I'm going to feel after this is over. And in the moment, I was miserable and I hated it. And I'd start dogging it a little bit more and I'd make excuses and I would just count down the minutes and seconds until this is done. And I found that it's just not sustainable. If you're going to try to be consistently disciplined, you have to find enjoyment with what you're doing in the moment. And you have to try to appreciate it. It's a term called calm enjoyment. And I've been reminding myself of this every single week. Every difficult task you do, try to find a little bit of pleasure in it. A little bit of pleasure. If you can find pleasure in these difficult things and not just solely focus on the end with how good you're going to feel after, I promise you will start to enjoy doing a hard task a little bit more and it'll improve your discipline. Number 2, a term that I got from Chase Huge. Read his book. It's called The Behavior Ops. He was a behavioral specialist in the military. One of the things he talks about that is very good for building discipline is the concept of being a butler for yourself. And essentially this means 3 different things. It means your past self, present self, and future self are all working for each other. So to be a butler for myself, here are some things that I do. The night before I get up, I lay out all my clothes. I put my coffee in the dispenser. I do and fold my laundry, even though I don't want to do it. I know that tomorrow I am going to greatly appreciate what my past self did for my future self. So the minute something comes in your head, it could be dishes. You don't want to wash this pan. You don't want to unload the dishwasher. Think about being a butler to your future self. And then this will apply to every aspect of your life. And your discipline, watch it. Your discipline will increase. Number 3, something that I've mentioned before, and this may be the strongest one, and I say it all the time. Take pride in doing things that nobody else is doing and remind yourself. Size yourself up with other people your age or people older and ask, are they doing the things that I'm doing right now? Are they freaking working as hard as I am? Or are they slacking off or taking it easy? Because if you tell yourself and constantly remind yourself that you are doing things that nobody else is doing, it is going to light a freaking fire inside you so strong. And it is going to give you that motivation when you do not feel like doing a single thing. Every night this week, I had to stay up late working on stuff. Usually I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, but I just had that fire. And I'm like, I'm doing stuff that nobody else is doing, allowing me to stay up late, get work done, and then get up at 5:20 in the morning to go to a boxing class. And I don't give a shit that I'm tired. I am telling myself I am doing things that no other person is doing, and it gives you an endless source of motivation that will allow you to sustain discipline. And then lastly, I promised that I was going to give one thing that's going to make you feel better. And that is this. I do think there's power in slacking off. And I think there is a good power of falling out of a strict period of discipline. Because you're going to get to a point where you're going to be so unhappy with yourself and you're going to feel so guilty with what you're doing that it's going to make you crave getting back on track. That's what happened to me with the spring break. I was eating garbage. I wasn't working out. I wasn't working hard. I was sleeping until 10 a.m. every single day. And I felt horrible about myself. I truly did. I felt like I was letting myself down and letting my future wife, future kids, and my future self down. And that just freaking pushed me to get after it this week. It's a never-ending battle, but there is power into slacking off. The key is to keep that to a minimum and find consistent discipline. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Somewhere on the screen should direct you to somewhere else in our channel. But as always, believe foolishly.